Hi, welcome back. I hope you had a nice week. You ready for another video? Let's go. One of the things that are always a subject for discussion among translators, it's the way that our industry has been devalued over the years. In fact, it's not only, and this doesn't only translate into lower rates, but in the way that we are treated as professionals. It is something that, in my opinion, needs to be changed because it gives people the wrong perception of a translator, and obviously it changes the whole perception of the industry as a whole. It's something that has been happening along the years, and I've seen that. When I started my career, I saw colleagues actually referring to this problem already happening. So it's not new. It's not something that is happening or has happened in the last few months or in the last few years. It's been going on for quite a while. And I'm in the industry for more than 10 years, and I must admit, since the very beginning, I felt this. But now there is a totally different aspect of the devaluation of our business and the valuation of our job. Some agencies that work with us just got us to the point of calling us vendors or calling us sellers or suppliers. Well, to start with, in my opinion, this is even linguistically wrong. We don't have a product to sell. We are business and service providers. Our product is a service, so we can't really call ourselves a vendor. We call ourselves a service provider. We are highly qualified professionals, and we do our job, and our job is quite complex. So it's paramount that people understand this in the first place, to understand where I'm coming from with this and what do I mean when I see this. I know that we live in a world that people feel the need of categorizing everyone and categorizing things. But if we are going to categorize something, we need to actually choose the right category to put those professionals or whatever we want to categorize. We need to choose the right category to put those in. We just don't make up one along the way. Because what I see here, it's that now it's basically like it's like a market, and we are basically like the same person that is selling, I don't know, Microsoft products or other type of softwares or anything, which obviously they are qualified. They are also highly qualified to do their job. They know everything about the products they sell. But the difference is those are professionals that sell a product. We don't sell a product. Our product is not the same every single time. If you go to a software provider, to a software vendor, that vendor, every single time that you go and you inquire about a certain product, that person is going to answer you with the exact same answer. The product does this, that. And obviously, it's going to tell you how it works. It's going to tell you what you can achieve with the program and all these sort of things that obviously are crucial to help you make the decision about buying that particular product. However, when you contact a translator, I don't always have the same product to sell because I don't have a product at all. You give me the product. You give me your documents, and based on those documents that you provide me, I can look into those documents, I can see what's the task at hand, and based on my price list, I can provide a quote for you for the service of translating that particular document into the language that you required, which in my particular case would be Portuguese. So it's easier when we actually put things in perspective. It's easier to understand, and it's easy to see that it's quite different here what a vendor does and what a translator does. I don't see why was the need for this, because honestly, it just really it just makes look like these agencies want to get to a point that they just minimize whatever we do into making what they do the service. No, I'm sorry to say, but we are the service providers. We are the ones who actually translate the documents, and they are just the middlemen. I have nothing against agencies. I've worked with agencies, and there are pretty good ones out there. I've worked with a few good ones out there that actually respect the translator and are a delight to deal with. But honestly, I've seen the deterioration of my industry and the way that people refer to us lately, and that I kind of find a little bit out of touch, because for them it may just be a question of a word, but words are very powerful. It's another reason that our job is so important, because words are very powerful, and if you put the wrong word in a certain text, you may actually turn that text into something else, and even something offensive, or even something very different from the original text, just by changing one word, because words have a lot of power. So when I'm contacted, I don't know about my colleagues, but when I'm contacted with agencies that tend to treat me as I'm just a vendor or a supplier, and another thing that I see is that these agencies usually are the ones that want to push the rates down as well, and the ones that actually are a little bit late on the payment. So it might not be, and if there is any colleagues of right there that actually had a different experience than what I'm saying here, please share. But my experience so far, I've worked with a few agencies. I'm not saying that I have worked with a lot of agencies, because that's not true. Most of my clients have been direct clients. As I mentioned before, I worked for airline for 8 years, and now I'm working with another company in the casino game industry. So I've got and then I've got all the private direct clients that are different, obviously. But I have worked with a few agencies, and as I said, I've worked with a few agencies that are good. I also have been contacted with agencies that end up not working with me, but they conducted themselves in a very, very professional manner. And when I see this type, I've seen this actually a long time ago. One colleague of mine in Portugal mentioning this, he brought to our attention this vendor situation, but now I see it more and more. And the last time I saw translators called as suppliers. I received an email where we are treated as suppliers. Well, I obviously didn't agree with the term. I'm really not really interested in what that agency had to say, because it's disrespectful when you treat a highly qualified professional like that. You don't go and you call a doctor your vendor. Is providing a service. You're not calling them a vendor or a lawyer or any other professional. You're not going to call them a vendor unless they are a vendor, unless they are a supplier. I have worked in the importing company, and I was dealing with vendors every day, with suppliers. I used to call our software vendors to solve problems with our software, and I used to call our suppliers to place other orders and things like that, and to make payments and that sort of thing. And that was all right. And they were amazing people that do amazing jobs. I'm not saying that their job is less than mine. I'm just saying that they really are vendors. And if you go and you look into the dictionary for this, the meaning of vendor and the meaning of service provider, you'll see there is differences there. We don't have a product. I don't have a product. I have a service to sell. And therefore, I'm a service provider. I'm not a vendor. So I decided to talk about this today because I would like to create awareness. I would like, first of all, I would like my colleagues to stand up for our rights. And honestly, I think we should do something. I would like our associations to do something about this as well, because it's not right. And if we're gonna try to solve the problem of the devaluation of our profession, we should start in these little things. Yes, the payment is one of the things that we need to sort out, because there is a lot of bad payment and a lot of companies pushing down. But I think that's a product, and this is a product of all of these together. The clients have a wrong perspective of our work. People still think, and I see that every day, a lot of people still think that a translator is someone that just simply knows two languages and just uses that to make some money. It's not really a qualified profession. It's just easy. You just send a few documents and they just sit in the computer, and in 5 or 10 minutes they can do that. Well, let me know if you find someone, or if you can do that. Well, you are a genius. But I have to say that not a translator, not a professional one for sure, because our work, we need qualifications, and knowing two languages, of course, is paramount. You need to learn two languages, and you need to be proficient in both languages that you work with. And also, this just knowing the languages is not enough. You need to know the cultural traces, the cultural facts, everything, because you need to do it. And when you transfer the text from one language to another language, it needs to be done properly and according to that culture. Because if it's just transferring word by word, it won't even make sense most of the times. And for example, with the pair of languages that I work with the differences there is in the structure of sentences and grammar rules, everything, it wouldn't simply make sense. So it is very important that we actually understand the work of a translator, and understand that just knowing two languages is not enough, because there is more, especially in very complex fields like medical translation, literary translation, legal translation, so many, but even in general translation. Even when you work in fields that are a little less complex, I'm not saying no complex at all, because they are, and I worked with one, and the one I'm going to mention now, it's one of the ones I've been working for 8 years, airlines. You need to know what you're dealing with, because for example, if you are, and that's one of the things that I've done for the airline that I used to work with, if you are translating parts of their website, for example, and you need the codes translated, like the type of codes, the booking codes, the types of accommodation and things like that, it may vary. You may find that, for example, for an English-speaking country, you have a terminology for the types of accommodation that may not be used in Portugal. It may be a little bit different. And again, you may see that the ones that you chose for Portugal may not be used in Brazil, for example, or in Angola, or in Mozambique, which is also a country that speaks Portuguese. And you have to know all of that to be able to translate that website properly, because if that website, let's say, goes to Portugal, and the terminology used is terminology that is, for example, used in Brazil, and the Portuguese audience is not acquainted with those terms, they will go to the airline's website and they will find it confusing, and they will simply not book because they don't know what they're talking about. They will feel confused. They will feel, oh no, I'm not sure. They will be unsure and they wouldn't book. So, and this is the job of a translator. It's to find exactly where that text is going to be published or tended to, whatever, and translate it accordingly to the language that is spoken in that country where that document is intended to. And this is not the work of a vendor. This is not a product. This is a service that we provide. So, and this idea that we are vendors, this idea that this simplification of our job, because a lot of people also think that because we use CAT tools, some of us, I don't, some of us use CAT tools, that it's just a machine doing, well, it's not. Even a CAT tool, there's a translator behind, and the CAT tool picks up the words that you used before and creates a database of words that you have used before and that you translated. But you still have to look if the CAT tool is actually giving you the right meaning for that particular context, because there's words that also have more than one translation, and you have to translate it in accordance to the context and to the present document that you have in front of you. You cannot use the same that you used last week or the month before, because it might not be the same context. And if you just put there and you wait for the CAT tool to do the job, well, the CAT tool won't do the job. The CAT tool is there to help you, not to do the job for you. So it's another thing that I would love clients to understand. Even colleagues that use a CAT tool, the CAT tool is assisting them with the translation. It's not doing the translation for them. They still need to look at the text, that they still need to think and choose the best appropriate term for that particular translation. And that's complex. That's not a product. That's a service. So I think if we can change this, and associations, I believe associations have a major role in this, because they could promote our job, and they could actually make people understand that this is what we do. It's a quite valuable job. Translators and interpreters, I honestly don't know how they treat my interpreter colleagues. If any of you are an interpreter and you have a similar commercialized term for yourself, please share. It would be as bad as the ones they use for translators, because you also don't have a product to sell. And your product is quite complex, because you have to sit in there and just translate straight away. So it's like an instant product then. I decided to talk to you about this today, because I would like to create awareness about our job, and I would like to make you understand that when you see translators regarded as vendors or suppliers or things like that, that's not the right term for us, because we are not vendors. We don't have a product. We have a service, and we are highly qualified professionals that do an amazing job and actually increase the value of your company. Because I read in a few comments the other day on LinkedIn, someone saying that the rates are low and it's okay to argue rates, because companies need to get a return from their investment, and they're not only thinking about translation. Oh well. Obviously, with all respect, I think if a business person sees translation this poorly and doesn't see the value of translation for their company, then that's not a serious business person. Because if and I see it, for example, for my business. I have my website is translated in two languages. It's translated into two languages that I work with because I want to reach clients both in English and Portuguese because are the two languages that I work with. If eventually I got another colleague of mine working with me and another language was added, I would have to translate the website to that particular language. When you have a company and you just focusing in one market, you obviously closing your company. But if you translate your content for more than one language, you are opening up your company, and you opening it up to more clients, to the world, and you're gonna be seen, and you probably gonna get clients in other parts of the world, which ultimately are going to be good for your bottom line, because if you get more clients from all over the world, obviously you're going to have a bigger income. And then if you put what you spend in translating that particular content to the goodness of getting you more clients and getting your company seen worldwide, I reckon it's a no-brainer, and it's kind of self-explanatory, the value of translation. Plus, let's see, the value of translation itself. Well, if you're going to have your website translated, for example, and I'm only giving the example of a website because a website is basically the face of a business worldwide. Of course, you will have brochures, probably depending on the type of business that you have. You have brochures and other types of documentation that you can provide in several languages. But to the world, to the first contact with your company, I believe it will be the website. And if your website it's poorly translated, what image does it give to your business? Think about it. If you have a website that is poorly translated, which the people on those particular markets are going to look into it, and they're not going to understand, or they're going to see it's like a Google Translate type of thing, and it's clumsy, it's not taken care of, it's just a little bit of a mishmash there, they won't take your company serious, so they won't do business with your company. So, and that's the reputation of your company also that gets affected by that. So I think when we put all of these little points into perspective, we can see that in this day and age, translation is not just a little translation, it's not just a little thing. It's a very important service, and it's a very important part of any business of today. We live in the global world. We're not closed anymore. We're not closed. We travel, we go places, people migrate, countries are multicultural, they have people coming from different parts of the world, and translation is always there. It's always there. It's needed. And in a business that wants to be serious and wants to be out there, translation is paramount. So, and getting a good translator, a professional translator that does a perfect job for you and gets your content properly translated rather, and given the image that you want to your possible clients overseas, it's something that deserves to be paid accordingly, because our job is hard. I'm not saying that our job is harder than any other job. I'm just saying that our job is hard and is valuable. So if other jobs are not questioned and are accepted as being qualified jobs and being hard jobs, ours should be too. So I hope this really helped understand and really helped put in perspective the value of our profession, the value of our work, and most of all and most importantly, the value of translation for your business. Because at the end of the day, it's every single time that you hire one of us to translate something for your company, it's your company. It's your company that's on the line, and it's your reputation as a business person, and it's your company's values and your company's reputation that is on the line. So if we do a good job, so if you hire the right person and you have the right translation and you pass the right message, you may have a huge return out of it because your company opens up to the world. But if instead of that you decide to go with a poor job, something that is done either by Google Translate or for someone that is not professionally qualified and may not do a good job, then you may not pass the right message and you may not reach your target, and then you may not reach your goals. So I think if we think about these things like this, we may actually understand why we feel so disappointed and bad about this situation, because we see the importance of our job, we see the importance that translation has in every company, and then we see ourselves being treated as vendors or suppliers. and that's obviously wrong. And if you go to a dictionary and you look for the meaning of a supplier or a vendor, you will see that maybe does not qualify for a translator. I hope you like this video. I really hope it really helped create some awareness about us and about our job. If you are there and if you have ever come in contact with any agency or anyone that treat translators or call translators vendors or suppliers or anything like that, please let us know. Or if you are an interpreter, as I said before, and you know there is also some term like this for interpreters, share with us. Let's create awareness, because I think if we create awareness, if we talk about this, we actually reach people with our message, and we actually explain why is it this is wrong and shouldn't be happening. So if you like the channel, if you like my videos, if you like my weekly conversation, please subscribe and share your views, share your comments. Let's start a conversation. That's why I created a channel. And have a good week. I hope you have a good one, and see you next week. Bye. Thank you.